Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 29 of the World of DVC Show. Today, we have lots of fun in store for you, but most importantly, we are answering audience questions. That's right, we took all of your questions, and we are giving lots of fun answers. It's going to be a fantastic episode. In fact, we may make this a long-standing tradition. So make sure...
What about prizes?
Derek? Oh, and we are going to be giving away bucket hats. So 5 people will have the chance to win a bucket hat. Tune in to find out how.
Daddy, look, a giraffe. I can't believe we can walk through the castle.
It starts with a spark, alive in our hearts, a chance to build your legacy. To go to magical places with smiling faces and value and trust you can see. When it's buying or selling, renting or lending, there's a wonderful dwelling with wishes unending. You'll save a lot when you believe. So go with the team who will achieve your dream. Enter the world of DVC.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the world of DVC, the ultimate DVC destination where magical vacations meet incredible value through exceptional service. Put in your headphones, turn the volume up, sit back, relax, and step into the world of DVC.
Just wish on a star. Enter the world of DVC.
Can you feel the chill in the air?
Nope.
Here in Central Florida?
Nope.
To where
It's only 91 outside.
And 100% humidity.
and the best, like I told you, my wife was super excited today because she looked at her phone.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh my God, this is so great! Like fall's starting to come." I was like, "Really? When?" And she's
love
like,
Annie.
"Well, there's no 90s for the rest of the week, so
Yeah.
we got that going for us here."
But
in
it's
Florida.
100% humidity. So like I said, it's 85.
Yeah.
But the humidity just not only wrecks my hair, it wrecks my attitude. Like I'm usually so delightful. And with the humidity, I'm just not as delightful.
This is going to be a fun show.
I know.
I can't wait.
Oh my God. It just smacks you in the face. Like everyone else is
It is.
pumpkin spice lattes and sweaters, and we're not.
Yes.
Point just yet.
Lindsay from the DVC rental store is with us today from Indianapolis.
So
we're
excited.
super excited to have her on. And I was so envious because she's talking, she's like, "Oh my God, when I left Indy, it was like 55 and
Yeah.
wearing sweaters and like you said, Ugg boots and
Right.
pumpkin
She's in a bad mood too. Okay.
So welcome everybody to episode number 29. I can't
29.
believe it. 29 of the World of DVC Show. We are so glad to all be together. We've all been all over the place over the last month, so we can't wait to tell you all about it. And most importantly, we're excited because we get to answer all of your questions.
We've never done an episode where we've just answered
Right.
all. And the reason we decided to make this a whole episode is because of all of you. You wrote in so many good questions. Every time somebody would write a new one, we were like, we can't fit that into next episode as a normal episode. So we need to have a whole episode dedicated to answering your questions. And of course, between all of us, we like to think of ourselves as experts, but there are some questions where we're like, you know what? We should have Lindsay fly out from
Thank God.
Indiana
So
and
she
help
did,
us.
yeah.
So she did. And so
Yep.
she's here too. So we're going to make sure that we can answer every single question you guys ask. And who knows, maybe this will be a long-standing tradition.
I think that's actually a really good idea
think
to
so.
have a long-standing tradition. And Lindsay was on, I'm trying to think what episode. It was in our first year. It was like episode 8 or 9.
It's the one where we did Disney with toddlers.
Disney with kids.
Yes,
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
kids, right.
Toddlers and
That's right.
teens. And,
Yep.
That's
and so,
right.
and Lindsay's a planner. So if you're a planner or if you wish to be a planner, like go back and watch that episode because she is like the ultimate Disney mom, Disney girl, Disney planner, Disney fan. Like the mouse ears are like permanent on her head, I feel like.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
We're super
she's
excited to have her back. So we're going to have fun answering all of your questions. So before we get into that, we're going to go.
No,
but
I have something. Yes.
Oh.
You don't know about it. So the last time
I know.
we were
Where
together,
are you on
I know. I went off script. I know. So the last time we were together, I gave Marissa a gift for our 2-year anniversary, which was back in the springtime, and your gift fell in my kitchen.
Oh, that's
so
right.
now here is your mug that crashed to the floor. I glued it back together for you.
Oh my God, this is so
cute?
perfect. Oh boy.
See?
This is perfect.
That is
I love it.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank
Happy
you. I love
2-year-and-a-half anniversary now.
Am I allowed to leave this on the table?
Yeah, you can put that there because
Okay,
it's so
good.
super cute.
Okay.
But so if you watch last month's episode, you'll see that I tell the story about how I was leaving and
Yes.
your mug just completely shattered on my kitchen floor. And I text Marissa and she was
It's
like...
because of the humidity.
Yeah, I think it was the humidity. Gravity was really, really strong that day. And Marissa's like, my gift didn't shatter, did I? I said, no. So I brought Marissa's pin, but yours
Well,
did.
thank you.
Priorities.
This is very, very sweet.
I ventured all the way over to Disney's Hollywood Studios to get this for you.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Oh.
I know.
I didn't hear that
See,
story.
Yes, well, see, that's how much I just love you. I've been doing a lot. I went to Hollywood Studios just for Derek, but my friend David and I went to the Boathouse, and Marissa and I are huge fans of the Boathouse. If you've not enjoyed the Boathouse at Disney Springs, it is to me one of the best restaurants for the ambiance. The food is so good. I'm from New England, so you get like a little taste of that New England seafood and everything. And we went over there on Labor Day and just spent the entire day at Disney Springs. And I think it just kind of reminded me that like the parks are awesome, right? The parks are so great and they're so much fun and there's nothing like them. But sometimes you can just find that Disney magic without the ticket, without venturing over to the park. We went to Disney Springs and spent the entire day. The team at the Boathouse was amazing. They were so great.
They're always so
oh
good.
my God, they're so
And like
inviting
one tip
and
with
so
the
fun.
Boathouse is, and I don't want to say this and then you come back at me and say that's not true, but every time we've gone there and we don't have a reservation, like they make it work for you.
I have
Every
experienced
time I've
that.
gone there and we're like, listen, this is the situation. And they're like uber helpful.
Yeah, same. We did have a reservation at noon, but we said, can we just sit and have a drink at the bar first? And they were like, yeah, of course. So we did that. Like it was just, everything was very like leisure. It wasn't the hustle bustle that normally you'd find on like a Labor Day at Disney or anything like that. It was just awesome. So did that, had such a great experience. But this week, I'm super excited because you know what this week is? Friday morning. This Friday morning at god-awful hour. It's like 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's the Disney Ambassador Ceremony. Oh. So we're picking the new, I'm not, but yes, they're picking the new team for 2024, 2025. So crazy. Like,
wow.
What do you do for that?
Nothing. Show up.
Okay.
Yep, nothing. I might stand and wave.
That's
I don't
what I'm
know.
saying. Like, do you have a place in the audience? Do you have a dress code?
Yeah, normally, yes, there used to be a dress code where like they asked you to wear blue or red.
Okay.
Something that was like the ambassador colors. But the ambassador program's really evolved now. And I was an ambassador in 2008, which doesn't feel like that far away, but it was. It was a long time ago. And so we were so super conservative and we thought we were like trendy because we didn't have a costume. Like our clothes were off the rack. And so we thought like, oh, we're super trendy. And now these guys are just like, oh, they're like fashion plates. We look like our pantyhose are like, so old fashioned. But so I don't know, like sometimes they've asked us each to speak and like say something about our year or like if there's some history. So my team, there's usually two. The ambassador was originally selected with just one, Julie Ream out in Disneyland, and then Debbie Dane Brown, who was on our show for the 50th anniversary. There was only one ambassador, and then they went to like a team concept of two because it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. So my team was myself and TC Newman, and we were the first all-female team. So that was exciting. So like sometimes they'll have us do like a history or give just do like a little nod to the current team going out or whatnot. But I don't know. Nobody's really been told anything just yet. It's at Millennium Village at Epcot.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So super excited for that, and it's going to be so different because the last ceremony was 2.5 years ago, but it was during COVID. So it was all virtual. And I feel so, like my heart went out to, Allie and Rayvon is our current ambassador team. My heart just went out to them because they missed the ceremony, right? Yeah. Like we had this grand, stage for my first ambassador ceremony, because I went for it that first year in 2006 and didn't make it. That was the fountain stage at Epcot, which is now gone and replaced with Moana. So I'm not salty about that. I'm not salty about that at all.
Now we have the history behind Kerri's Moana feeling.
I know. Oh, it's so sad. Right. Well, and you know what? I'll put up the picture because I recently found the picture of and I love this picture because it's I literally lost. Like you stand on stage and your name doesn't get called, and you need to show just great sportsmanship. You can't be sad or anything like that. And so Meg Crofton is shaking my hand and she's saying like, come back for the team next year. But I'm standing on the now gone fountain stage as this is happening. So it's like It breaks my heart for many reasons. But that was the first stage. And then the second year when I was selected was at the Nemo stage at Animal Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at the Nemo stage. So,
I had to think where that was.
Air conditioning.
Okay.
Speaking of ambassador times,
Yeah.
I saw something on Instagram. Some of our team is at Vero Beach, and they found a picture of you at Vero Beach. What was that all about?
This
Who
is
did?
so funny.
Paul and Amy and Mandy.
Mandy, yeah. They went to Vero Beach recently.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I know there's a picture. It's like
You didn't tell us this.
I forgot it was there. It's so funny because it's just in this like little like picture frame on a
Where?
shelf in the lobby.
Oh my God, I live at Vero.
I know,
and I've
and
never
we
seen your
didn't know
picture.
I know. I forgot all about it. But so it was the Tommy Lasorda event.
Okay.
The coach for the Dodgers. Yeah. And so it was the Tommy Lasorda event. And they used to be out of Vero Beach. That's where they originated, was at Vero Beach. And so he came back, and I forget exactly what it was, but it was some event that he came in for. And it was a cast event, but then it was like a small community event too. So you know the lawn, out back that faces the ocean. That's where the event was. And it was all these kids, and they did
And they have a little base that's...
Yes. That was it. It's the dedication to that. That's exactly what it was. It was the
You know
dedication.
that little base that's like right there on the corner? Yeah.
Yeah. And so...
Kerri's face is right on it.
Right. No.
Chiseled out of stone.
I have a little picture on a shelf somewhere buried in the lobby. But that's what that was. It was a Tommy Lasorda event. And so...
Okay, so we're giving away a prize this episode, and we'll tell you how to participate for that. But anybody who can send us a picture of Kerri at Vero Beach
will get a special
gets a special prize. So email that to info@worldofdvc.com. If you find Kerri, any point, I would say in the next year. If you find Kerri, email us and we'll give you a prize.
Well, you know what's funny is that Mandy's two little girls, I love her little girls, Aubrey and Emily.
And Mandy is our digital marketing manager.
Mandy's our digital marketing manager. She is awesome. And I think I had told her, because I think I'd found something. I just moved my office at home, and so I was going through a bunch of stuff. And I said, "Oh, Mandy, I think my picture's like still in the lobby. You should, see if the girls can find it or whatever." And they did. So she's like, "The girls actually found you." They were like, "There's Miss Kerri," because they from Unlocked Animation. It's so funny. But that's what that was. It was a Tommy Lasorda event, and so he threw the baseball out, and then he gave me a baseball. So I have a baseball with Tommy Lasorda's signature on it. That's not a prize. Just letting you know.
That baseball will go perfect.
Right, and your mug on top of your mug. Yeah. So super excited. And
awesome.
With the ambassador program, like you just get to do so many cool things like that. You just never know what's going to pop up. So to have the new team be named this Friday, it's like so exciting. So no dress code or anything like that. I don't know what we're doing. We're just told to show up at 7:00 in the morning and be ready for anything.
Your hair will be fabulous.
Oh, my hair is going to be a mess.
Because it may or may not be 90. I'm not
and
sure.
100% humidity.
Exactly.
100% humidity.
But I'll talk about it next on the October show.
Yay.
Fun.
Congrats.
What about you?
That's awesome.
You have been here, there, and everywhere.
You are an ambassador for all things Disney because I was in kind of a bind, per se, for my wife's 50th birthday. We're trying to think, what do? We want to do something special. We've been together like 100 years. And so I was like, wait a second, let's just
She
book.
turned 50.
Let's
100 years of magic.
Let's book a DVC room.
Yeah.
And of course, I realized, I have no points because I'm
This
completely...
is the story of your life.
Story of my life. I am waiting for October.
I know where you can go to get more
1st.
points.
You.
Oh, well, that's true.
So I asked Kerri, and I said, Kerri, is there any way that you could perhaps book this? There's a studio at the Boardwalk, a Boardwalk View studio. During the week, it was only 14 points, and she said, I would be more than happy to. So she was able to book that. Again, one of the coolest things about DVC is anybody could use your points. So you booked it.
Yes.
It was phenomenal.
Easy.
I even, of course, surprised her and said, great news. We're going away for your 50th. When we checked in, and I called the resort and even faxed them because I was wondering, what are the latest tips these days for like an upgrade per
Question.
se? Yeah.
Where did you fax
Yeah,
them?
I was going to ask that too.
So I happened
Do you
to...
have a fax machine?
No, I Googled it. So
I was going to say, I can't imagine you with a fax machine.
So I Googled, what is the best way to, like if you're celebrating something special, and some people say, okay, you got to send an email to this address. Other people say, send a fax, or other people say this way. So I looked up every possible thing I possibly could. I mean, including smoke signals went up the day before the birthday.
That's kind of what a fax is now. It's a smoke signal, right? Who has a fax machine?
It was so awesome because it was Disney magic, true and true. Like when our room was ready and we're by the pool,
But where did you fax?
I can't remember the actual address.
But from your house, like from your house.
How did you find a fax machine?
Well, I think I sent it over the computer. There's actually a form that you can go to. So
that
you
sends to their
the form.
Yes, it sends to their phone.
Got it.
Yeah, it's not like I have a
Hopefully we cleared that out for everybody because Marissa and I were super confused. And
Yes.
Okay. All right, go on.
Yeah.
We were by the pool, which we got to say hi to a couple of really great members to as well while we're relaxing by the pool. They texted and said, your room is ready. So we went and we're like, okay, I don't expect anything. I'm expecting my Boardwalk view studio, which is perfect. But we walked in and boom, we were upgraded to a 1-bedroom. Out of nowhere. They had cool little coffee mugs that were there and a beautiful card signed by all the characters saying, happy birthday, Annie. So it just reminded me of those days of old to when you used to be able to. Because I remember for my 25th wedding anniversary at the Grand Floridian, I thought, if they're going to upgrade you, give you something good, this is it. And I got nothing.
Not even a coffee mug.
But it was an amazing trip. We went over to Epcot and had dinner in Mexico. Just had the queso fundido in Mexico, which has always been a favorite of ours. Hadn't been there in forever.
Where in Mexico? What?
Inside by the little boat.
Okay, I forget the name of that restaurant.
So it was great. The food was great. There was a beautiful sunset. At night we watched the fireworks from the balcony and just walked around the boardwalk.
That's so nice.
It was awesome. So it could not be a better trip, other than the fact that then we get a call at like 5:30 a.m. from our son who is staying at home because his ride that normally takes him to school was not able to go to school. So we rushed and frantically rushed home at 5:30 in the morning to take him to school.
We could have taken him to school for you.
The worst way to wake up.
Your community, let people know what you need.
You literally could see the pixie dust being sucked out of my system. What? We have to go where? But
my gosh.
It was great. And then we also got to do Horror Nights because we go to Halloween Horror Nights over there at Universal. So we got to do that my one time a year that I love going to Universal. Do the Express. So went with my 14-year-old son and my brother. We just had the best time. It was great. I love Horror Nights. We got all houses done thanks to the Express Pass. So you pay a pretty penny for it, but knowing that you can walk on to some of these houses in 5 minutes and you see people waiting for 13 days to get into the exact same house, it's like, oh my gosh, it's worth every penny. So it was great.
There's so many great things to do this time of the year,
So much fun stuff. And like you said, we even found time in there to go to Disney Springs and have lunch at the boathouse. So that, whether you do a crazy jam-packed theme park day or whether you just relaxed at a hotel in the swimming pool, there's so much to do here in Florida. It's a pretty darn cool place to live.
What's crazy is, like, with Disney and everything, I don't know if it's just that time of year or everyone's at Universal for Halloween Horror Nights, but like Disney has felt quiet and
very
calm
quiet,
and wonderful. So the last few hurricanes, we've made the mistake because obviously the park reservations are still there. So we made the mistake the last few hurricanes of not getting a park reservation. And then what happens is they cancel school, we lose power, we're stuck at home with nothing to do, and we're like, this would be the best day to be at the parks. So this year when I heard the hurricane was coming, I just booked every day after that. I got a reservation because I was like,
we don't know how long we're going to hunker down for.
Yeah, exactly. If we don't have AC, we'll be at Disney.
Right.
So the hurricane was a lot more mild, at least in Central Florida, than they had expected it to be. They did cancel school. We still had power. But I took half the day off and we went to Magic Kingdom. And it truly felt like Disney. And it's been a while. And if you're kind of waiting in the wings saying, I haven't been back since COVID or the craziness, I would say book your trip because I feel like we're kind of shifting to that phase and it might be slightly lower attendance. And obviously that's not a great thing for Disney, but I think as a Disney fan, you have the chance to experience like that excellent service, just those magical memories. We walked in and it was like slightly drizzling, which for us we love, right? Because it feels like fall. And it had all the fall and Halloween decorations out. We walk in, the line for Mickey Mouse, there's no wait. So we just walk right into Main Street. We go meet Mickey Mouse. We take the pictures with Mickey, which my son agrees to do now because he's still like Mickey. And then we just walked down Main Street. We took pictures down Main Street. We took pictures in front of the castle, in front of Times Square. It was just Times Square.
Times Square? Did you go to New York City too?
I went to California, New York, all of that.
She's been more out and about than you have been.
But it was just, we had such a great time. My husband rode Tron for the first time.
Oh, nice.
We spent a good couple hours just roaming around. And so then after that, we went to Steakhouse 71, which I will be honest, I haven't been a huge fan
Right.
of. I've done lunch and breakfast, and we did one-time dinner, which was for my birthday during COVID.
Right.
And it was not a good experience. I just felt like we were packed in. When we first went, we actually tried to get like a drink in the lounge area, and we almost got turned away because we had a kid with us, which is it just felt like odd. Well, so this time we go in, the staff is like waiting to greet us.
Nice.
The waitress was wonderful. She gets my son a special seat, special coloring, is engaging with him, asking all these questions.
Good.
The lounge area has the burger, which they don't have on the main menu, and the burger is probably the best thing there. And so we ordered the burgers. It just felt like Disney again.
Yeah.
So we loved
so
that.
good.
And then my husband and I had the chance to do the Universal event. So we got to do the RIP tour. And so what they did for us, so we could kind of experience all of it to be able to talk about it, is we go into one of their sound stages, and they clear all out, and they basically have booths. So all the food booths that you see out in the parks, they bring them all into the lounge. And so you go around and you get to try all the different foods that they have in the parks, which was really, really cool. Probably the best thing there, they had like a chip bag, like a little mini chip bag, and they opened it up and they made a taco salad out of it. So they put in like all the meat and lettuce and all that and mixed it up, and so you had like your taco salad. It was very good. It looks crazy. I'll put a picture up so you can
that's
see
super
it.
creative though.
Again, Express Pass or RIP tour, that's really the way to do Universal. You can obviously, we've talked about swapping. You can swap your points to do these types of trips, or you can book them directly through Be Our Guest Vacation. So if you're thinking about going, it truly is a great add-on, especially right now. Take advantage of Disney, and then make sure you add those things on, because those holiday editions, whether you're at Magic Kingdom or Universal, just kind of make that trip. It's funny because every year on September 1st, my husband decorates our house for Halloween with my help. But like, he's like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, isn't it too early? But he always wants to get like, I think because in Florida it's so warm, and you just want to get in that mood. And so he thinks like decorating will have that feel.
I hear him.
We go to Trader Joe's and buy anything pumpkin, and then we decorate the house. But it's that doing those things kind of kicks off that season. And the nice thing is Disney does them so early is that you can kind of kick off into the holidays so early, and then you're in that mood for the rest of the season. So we had a great time.
I think it's such a great point too, like going to Halloween Horror Nights, Universal, Disney Springs, kind of enjoying something a little bit different if the parks do feel overwhelmed. And now, like you've said, that they've kind of thinned out a little bit, so maybe the cast don't feel as stressed or as pressure, as
That's
much.
the thing. The service, like people were taking time to chat.
Oh my God.
And the photographers were having fun and like
Right.
doing this pose versus like next.
Yes.
There's definitely a change.
There is definitely a change, and I stopped in the little Christmas shop, and because I like to get some personalized ornaments for people and whatnot, and even the cast member there just went on and on about different ornaments and personalization, and I feel like the past few years has just been like, this is what it is. It's very transactional. This is what it is. This is
Well,
how
I think
much
my takeaway from hearing your stories and hearing your stories and hearing my stories again is that just when you think sometimes that like the magic is gone, or you know what, everything is so complex and I've got to get the Genie Plus and wake up at 6 a.m. and I got to have my whole day organized. It's still possible to just be able to get hit with that Disney magic that you go, this is why I love it. You know, it doesn't have to be because you're first online on some brand new attraction. It could just be strolling around the Magic Kingdom or going through Disney Springs or having that great interaction with those Disney cast members. So
I think that's what it goes back to, right? The upgrades are great.
That's what it is.
The front of the line is great, but it's the cast members that make just your day, so they can make it or break it. And when they make it, it's the simplest thing in the world, just to chit chat with people and get to know people and where are you from and this and that, and just really personalize your trip a little bit. So
it's so true, because the fundito that we had in Mexico was fine, but what made it great was the server. And how he interacted with us and how excited he was that we were celebrating her birthday there. So it's that kind of stuff that can take something like this and put it
even your mug. I did not have time to wander around Disney's Hollywood Studios. Cast member, yellow mug, white, it says "Oh Boy" on it. She was like, "Follow me," and it immediately showed me exactly where it was, and I had to tell her, I'm like, this is a gift, and it broke on my floor, and she knew the whole entire story. She probably watches the podcast now because I told her to watch. And so, but instead of just saying like, oh, I think it's over there, she like physically walked me over and like we got to chit chat. And I think that's the best thing is that the cast members are just so special. They're just awesome and they make the magic.
Yeah,
they really do. Yeah.
So the theme of this episode is go back to Disney.
Go back to Disney, right?
And with that said, how can we do it?
Do it, exactly.
So let's go around the world of DVC and talk about all the greatest going on.
The world of DVC rental store too. Like I can't believe it was. We were just talking at the beginning of the show. Like if you're looking for spring break, even summer, starting to think about that. It's so crazy. We're decorating for fall and Halloween right now, but I feel like we just said if you're planning for fall or Christmas, like that was the time to book. Well, now we're into spring and summer. And so go to dvcrentalstore.com and take a look at all of the reservations that are there. There's limited availability. I was told, Lindsay just kind of put a bug in my ear because the new resort in California in Disneyland is opening. And so now we're taking reservations for that this time of the year. But it's been so popular. And so if you're thinking about having a Disneyland trip, which why not, right? We love the East Coast, but we do love the West Coast as well. Maybe consider, Disneyland and going to dvcrentalstore.com. Take a look at that, those reservations there for the new California resort out in Disneyland. It's never too early to start booking, right?
And it's a no-brainer. I mean, with the costs of the hotels at Disneyland, to rent points, if you can snag them, if you can prepare and plan well, that is the best way to do. I mean, any Disney, right? But Disneyland, hands down, the best way to do it.
Definitely, yeah.
And then obviously DVC Resale Market, lots of fun, crazy things going on there.
Lots of fun, crazy things going on there, including we just launched, probably only a couple days old, I think, so far right now, is our new program, our new limited time promotion called Starting with Magic. So you might be wondering, what does that mean to start with magic? So it means that when you find the right contract, and there's only a select amount of these contracts, and they are going very, very quickly. These are contracts that still have the points for 2023. So you say, well, right there is great enough to begin with because I get all those 2023 points and I don't have to pay any annual dues on them. Right? But because we always like to think outside of the box and we're like, how could we make this even cooler, even more special? We're going to give you 3 different options that you can when you find one of these select listings, which again, you could go to listings, then you could go and filter, and you'll want to go look for those under status, and you'll want to look for Starting with Magic, and it will bring up all those. But basically, when you find these listings, you're going to have the 2023 points that you can, use the points, keep them, use them, go on vacation with them, have fun.
Reimburse Kerri.
Call Derek.
I'll take them. There's a 51st birthday coming up.
I know.
So use those points. Again, you're not paying any annual dues on those points, which is huge.
Yeah.
Second of all, you could actually redeem them for cash. We'll actually pay you for those 2023 points. And again, when you click on the listings, all the details will be right there. So you'll say, okay, this listing has all these listings start at a minimum of 160 points, but you'll see, okay, so if I redeemed it for cash, I could get XXX back. Oh, fantastic. There's 2 options. Third one is, which I think is even cooler, trade them in for park tickets. Right? So let's say you have a trip that you want to be able to take using those 2024 points. You can trade in these points, your 2023 points, again, a minimum of 160 for, I think it starts with 10 park tickets, if I'm not mistaken. These are 10 single day park tickets. So basically, the more points you purchase, you might be able to trade in for more park tickets. And again, when you click on each of those listings, it will break it out exactly for you. So
Derek,
it's just crazy.
It's a single day ticket. Is it a park hopper ticket?
No, so it is a single park day ticket.
Single park ticket.
Single park ticket. Which again, so just the fact that you could A, use the points, B, be able to, hey, I'll trade them in for cash so I could use some spending money on that trip I'm going to take in 2024, or C, I'll trade them in for park tickets. It doesn't get any better.
Taking everything that one park has.
It's good enough just to buy a listing to use it as is.
Right.
But the fact that now you've got 3 different options to be able to pick and choose from, it's awesome. So be sure to visit those listings. Check us out with any questions y'all have at the DVC Resale Market.com.
And so with that too, one of the things that we didn't talk about this a ton on the last episode, but it's happening since then, right of first refusals back.
Yes.
And so with that, a lot of times what Disney's looking for is the absolute lowest price. So if you're getting, let's say, a loaded contract with full 2023 points, and you're buying it, maybe you're paying a little bit more of a premium because you're getting those 2023 points. And let's say you turn that into cash, right? You're actually getting more of a discount than you would getting a strip contract.
Right.
And it's a really clever way to get around Disney because they see the price per point as higher, even though you're getting cash on the back end. And so that's a great way to kind of escape the ROFR monster. So again, those would be, if you're shopping and you're in the market right now, personally, I would say start there because, again, there's multiple ways you could use those points, whether you want to do like a big family reunion or park tickets. But if you just want to be strategic about what is the best economical purchase, that's it. Plus, your chances of passing right of first refusal are much higher.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it's a great point.
little tip there on that.
That's an innovation over at DVC Resale Market, I have to say, right?
Yeah.
Great
And that's
creativity.
the exciting thing, too. When we look at just, again, all over World of DVC, this year there's just been so many exciting things happen.
much,
And so if you're kind of saying, hey, we're looking to possibly make that purchase for the holidays, those are great ones to look at. Of course, with Monera, we've talked about this before, but just a reminder, they actually do roll in your closing costs.
Right.
So if you're saying, hey, this would be a great purchase for us to have as that like Christmas gift, holiday gift, right? This is the perfect way to do it with the least out of pocket because you can find a contract with full points, right? You're not paying 2023 dues. You can roll in the closing cost to the financing. Great way to take advantage of that. On the flip side, another thing that Monera is going to be rolling out as we head into the holiday season is cash out refinancing.
Yes.
So if you're already a member and you're saying, hey, I've built up a lot of equity in my contract and I want to pull some of those funds out so I have funds ready for the holiday, lean on that contract, right? And you can cash out refinance at great options because, again, these contracts are probably worth a lot more than they were when you bought it 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Definitely.
So monerafinancial.com, head over there. And speaking of holiday season and so much going on, obviously our team at Be Our Guest Vacations has tons of holiday promos going on. So if you're looking to do a Disney cruise, if you're looking to go to Disney World last minute and you are out of points, great way to do that. But I will say the most exciting thing happening this week is bookings for the Disney Treasure have begun.
I cannot believe the Disney Treasure.
Did you guys watch any of the
A bit.
Okay.
Yes.
What are your
Absolutely
thoughts on the
gorgeous.
ship?
I mean, I think I have not seen the Wish in person, but I was blown away by that. I think for me, because I started at Disney Cruise Line after all my college programs and whatnot. That was my first full-time position. So I tend to gear more towards the magic, the Wish, right? It's just a little cozier for me. But I think that where Disney's taking the cruise line is just exceptional. And the lobby, it's Aladdin and Jasmine right on the car. I mean, it just looks sparkly and magical, and like it feels like it's in line with some of the other top cruise lines too. And I think Disney always has been in service, but the ships have felt maybe a little bit smaller or not as much to do as some of the, I don't know. It's always been like, it's all about family, which it is. I love Disney. I'm a huge Disney Cruise Line fan, but I don't know. There's something about the Wish and the Treasure that I'm like dying to experience because I just think they keep leveling it up and up and up with the creativity and the spaces and the adult spaces and things like that. So I didn't dive too much into it, but super excited for it.
I feel like the feedback, I do think the Wish is very sparkly. And I think from like a heart of like loving like pixie dust and princesses and
Cinderella
like just the colors, like the
right.
blue and the marbles and the gold. Like I think it's very elegant.
Yeah.
And I think the Treasure is very much what they're theming it for is like that adventure. And at first I was like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But then as I started watching more of like the release video and then talking to people, I mean, they haven't officially said anything yet, but there's going to be a Haunted Mansion bar. Like,
oh, is there?
What?
That hasn't been officially released, but like these things, right? Where it's just like
so cool.
Just the adventure, the jungle cruise. Like, I think
Yes,
people
love
who
that.
love
Yes.
and
There's a following for that,
that's
right?
It. And
It's
so
a
it's
huge
that
following.
like that classic. I think it goes back to just like when you step into that environment, those memories washing over you, whether you're on the Jungle Cruise or Haunted Mansion. And so I think they're really tugging at those heartstrings of, I've heard so many people who've never done a Disney cruise that are going to go on the Treasure because that's finally the ship that has spoken to them.
That makes sense. You know what? Think back to this is going back, but Pleasure Island days with the Adventurers Club. The Adventurers Club has its own following, I think still today, of people that mourn the Adventurers Club is gone. But then you've got like the Trader Sam's and you've got, you know, that kind of the Disney bounding and whatnot and on that one day. I forget what that's called when people kind of dress up like
Day.
Dapper Day, but they dress up like the adventurers and whatnot. But even Club 33, like all of the clubs at Club 33 are so different. And you've got one that's the Spotlight Lounge, and it's more like retro, kind of like a green room at the Academy Awards. And Epcot's very elegant, like you're on a cruise ship. But Magic Kingdom is just that. It's like an adventurer's.
And they say the lounges are very similar to the Magic Kingdom Club 33.
It's going to be fantastic because it's all about like the seafaring of like 20,000 Leagues, and then the Jungle Cruise and Skipper's Cantina and things like that. Like it's just, that has its own special following in and of itself. So that's fantastic.
So if you're looking to book that cruise, again, make sure you're heading over to beourguestvacations.com. One of the great things that they do is they take care of all of the guesswork, right? So you don't have to call Disney. You don't have to wait on hold. You don't have to figure out what is my status, what is this. They take care of all of that. But on top of that, versus you just going online and doing that yourself, they're going to give you an onboard credit too. So it's really a no-brainer. So head on over there. Team is fantastic. They have all the inside scoops on the treasure.
They also keep up to date too with any new promotions.
Yep.
So if a new promotion rolls out and you booked prior to the new promotion, they keep up on that. So you will get the newest promotion, which I love that you don't feel like you're missing out if you're booking too early, or I'll just manage it myself. Let BOGV handle it all. Yeah, they're great.
Well, in spirit of the fall season rolling around, let's talk about our prize.
I love our prize.
Again, make sure to participate. So make sure you email us your name and your address, because we're going to pick out 5 lucky winners.
We have a model this time. Yes.
Look.
So to win our World of DVC bucket hat.
If you're listening to this podcast too, you may want to hop over to YouTube because Derek's going to model the bucket hat.
If you want to see it in person.
Yep. Love it.
So that's info@worldofdvc.com, and make sure you participate. Give us a thumbs up, a 5-star review, and leave in the comments any way that you celebrate the fall in Disney style. So that might be decorating your house, right? That might be a Mickey and Minnie pumpkin pillow. Or it might be your family costumes that have that nod to Disney, or Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party that you went to. Make sure you leave a note in the comments, and if you want to send a picture over email, we'll show those as well in the next episode.
Send a picture over email. We want to see all those fun Halloween stuff, and this hat is perfect for those 90-degree, 100% humidity days.
Bad hair day days. Yes.
So yes.
Protection from the sun.
Exactly.
5 lucky winners will be having that hat. So yeah, very, very cool. So I think without further ado, I think it's time we move on and start answering some questions.
Let's bring on Lindsay, and we're going to get right to your questions.
Let's go.
Well, awesome. We are so glad that we have Lindsay here. Thanks for jumping in.
Lindsay!
And we are so excited that we have so many questions. So we're going to just jump right in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to answer as many of these as possible. They're super good. And again, I do want to make this a long-standing tradition because it's so many things that we don't get the chance to cover. I mean, honestly, these could be full topics, but we're going to jump right in and answer them the best way we can.
We're going to pound out the most we can in the next 6 hours, I think.
There we go.
So I think we'll be good.
Hang on tight.
Hang on tight.
Here we go.
Lindsay's fresh off the plane from fall in Indiana. She doesn't want to go back, right? Because you love this humidity. So we'll be here for a week.
It's hot here. That is no joke. It is hot. It is hot.
So let's start with the first question. So the first question is, what do you think about Disney exercising right of first refusal again, and how will this affect resale? So Derek, I'm going to let you take this one away. Put you on the spot here.
I mean, I think from a buyer perspective, believe it or not, and an owner perspective, ROFR is a good thing. At the end of the day, when you're an owner of Disney Vacation Club, the fact that Disney does buy contracts back, that it helps keep those prices high, which is, again, why you don't see, a timeshare out there, Disney Vacation Club, for $1, right? Like you would online for every other timeshare out there. So the fact that Disney is going to most likely, and they have started very, very slowly, which is why we've told people over the last few months, we're like, once Disney ramps this up again, guys, right now it's the perfect storm because you're able to get great prices, because what happens when Disney starts buying contracts back, the prices then slowly start to creep back up. So then what you have then is higher prices, and you're worried about not sleeping at night if Disney's going to buy that contract back. Because again, last year they were buying anywhere between 20 and 40% of all the contracts back. So odds are, from based on over the years that we've done this, we tend to think that in October is when Disney's fiscal year starts. So there's a good chance that we might see some more contracts bought back
in the near future.
In the near future. So
well, and another thing too is Disney changed their promotion, right? So on September 11th, that huge promotion that they were offering, very, very big discounts on direct purchases, they took that away. So what happens with that? Then we start to see prices increase. So what does that mean if you're looking at the resale market? That gives Disney more of a gap in terms of direct price versus the right of first refusal buyback, which means they're very much more likely because now they have more margins. So again, if you're kind of on the edge, this is the time to do it. One, because ROFR is still light, right? So you have still better odds than when they were buying back like 400 contracts at a time.
Right.
But also, what we see is whenever Disney changes a promotion or starts kind of gearing back up for right of first refusal, it takes about 2 or 3 months, and then the resale market affects on pricing. So again, if you're sitting in the waiting wings, this is really kind of that moment for that. Totally switching gears here.
Completely a different gear.
We were reading these in order that they were put in.
Yes.
So this one's a fun one.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about steak on our last episode. So now we're going to get put to the test and say, what restaurant would you recommend for a great steak? So for this one, I think we all need to go around and tell our favorite place to have steak at Walt Disney World. I'm assuming Walt Disney World. So
220, Space 220.
Lindsay, we'll start with you.
Awesome. Well, that's a great question. I don't actually eat red meat. So for me, I don't really go to a restaurant for a good steak. But I think that there are awesome restaurants all over property, Walt Disney World property. And so when I'm with my husband, I usually, if I can go and find like I do eat fish. So like a good piece of salmon or sea bass, there's usually going to be a nice steak typically with it as well. So California Grill is by far one of our favorite restaurants, and I don't think you can find a bad meal there. So that would be the place that we go.
Nice.
good answer.
California Grill. We love California Grill.
Yeah.
Me next.
Yeah.
Go for
So
it.
I'm going to go a little bit different. I just recently went to the Yachtsman Steakhouse. Did have a very good filet there, but I also dined in the middle of the summer at Toledo at Coronado Springs. And you don't think of that as being a steakhouse. It's not a steakhouse. It's more of a kind of a Spanish vibe to it. But we did like the family style where it was like you could share it for like two to four people. And I have to say that steak was to die for. It was delicious. And I loved that it had other things, that you could try too, because I'm not a huge steak eater like you either, Lindsay. So this gave like a nice option, but Toledo at Coronado Springs, and it's on the rooftop. So you have like a gorgeous view. The restaurant is so beautiful. We don't ever talk about Coronado and the tower that's over there. It's just fantastic. So check out Toledo.
I'm going to go with California Grill. And I say this just because, like we talked about earlier, that any sort of extra that you could have, like you could have a great steak, but when you're eating in the California Grill with that view, looking over, seeing Cinderella Castle, seeing the Seven Seas Lagoon, it takes what is a great steak, don't get me wrong, but takes it to a crazy new level.
It adds pixie dust and magic, right?
Pixie dust and magic, and it's got barbecue sauce on it. So the barbecue beef filet at California Grill, that's my pick. Although I do want to try Shula's. I've had so many members
Too, but I've
tell
never
me
tried it.
they say it's the best steak on property. So I have not been there, so I can't say.
I haven't either. Guess we got to review that one.
All right.
I will say California Grill, but no barbecue sauce. I don't believe a good steak ever exists in the same sentence as sauce.
On steak at California.
It's been for the last 30 years.
I'm pretty
that
sure
place
it's a
has
wine
been around.
sauce.
It is called the barbecue tamarind beef filet.
Are you serious?
Guaranteed.
Are you sure?
100%.
Is that what I had when we dined there? Because I think I did like the original. Anyway, we'll argue this one out. Okay, so we keep on going as Marissa's Googling this.
California Grill steak to me is the best. One, because it's wood fired.
Yeah.
And so they're one of the few restaurants that do it right over the wood. But if the only downside with California Grill, which there's a very little, is it's a set menu, right? And so you have to have the whole thing. It's quite pricey if you're looking for a full family to go. So if you want a very similar and probably equally as good, depending on the day, Topolino's, their filet is excellent. So that would be a
great
good
ambiance too. Wonderful restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm going to check that menu.
I think we did pasta. Marissa and I went to Topolino's, and I think I did pasta. I didn't
Yeah,
do
the
steak
rigatoni.
Oh my God, the
which is
rigatoni is
also
delicious.
fantastic.
Huge
And the
Topolino
character
fans.
breakfast.
I
in the
got
morning
steak
is
that night,
fantastic.
so.
Did you get steak that night? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
My stomach is actually growling.
It's so good.
Thank you for whoever wrote in that question right
great
at lunchtime.
Favorite question so far.
Okay, so this one's a little bit of a longer question. I'm looking to purchase my first contract and trying to decide between Boardwalk and Beach Club. Epcot is my favorite park, and I love the idea of being able to quickly walk into the showcase. I also think I'll really like Hollywood even more because I haven't been there in 10 years and I love Star Wars. Which resort would you recommend? Now, insider tip, Derek's home resort is the Boardwalk.
Hence the shirt.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, based on owning the Boardwalk and knowing the beach club, do you feel like you made the best decision, or which one would you choose now if you were going in and had the choice? Since you've been a Boardwalk owner for many years.
I think, and I'll be 100% honest with you, it's just because of size. So I would probably pick, if I could do it, I didn't have that option at the time because the beach club didn't exist. I would pick the beach club just because it's much, much, much harder to get into the beach club than it is at the Boardwalk. The Boardwalk is huge, right? So even being able to say, hey, I want to get in there, I want to book the beach club because of the amazing pool, you're literally right next to Epcot. Like you're there in like 7 seconds. Like it's just ridiculous. The Skyliners, everything is all right there. Plus you have everything at the Boardwalk just right across the water for the nightlife and all that. But I would say if I'm going to pick one and the prices are similar, I would go with the beach club.
Yeah, I agree.
Devil's advocate on that though is, for the most part, Boardwalk is pretty significantly less than beach club. Now there's moments where they flip and they get close, but if you can get a really good deal, which you can find right now on Boardwalk, and you're saying, hey, both are pretty equal to me, you might get more savings on the Boardwalk. But I do agree with your point.
And I would just interject too, we get this question a lot on the guest side, especially at the DVC rental store. And I think for me, because they're both the exact same location, is what are you looking for in your stay more than anything? And I would probably go to this with the member as well, or a potential member. Looking at the pools, obviously the other amenities that are there, and just what restaurants are offered, quick service, table service, all that kind of stuff. I think when you start looking at when they're so similar, what really sets them apart to make your decision.
Great
Pool.
point.
The beach club pool.
Which is what everybody wants.
That's it.
All right, next question here. If you need additional points for a vacation, can you rent them, or is the only option to buy them from Disney? So, Lindsay,
That's got your name all over it.
It does. And honestly, we probably get this, if we get it once a day, we get it multiple times a day from members that are short on points or have no more points to use. So, I always say, yes, you can absolutely rent them. Because there are the one-time use points, and I'm not for sure right this minute what that cost is per point. I think they just did a special where they lowered it.
They lowered it by like $2.
So it was $20 per point. Well, it was always $18, and then they bumped it up to $20. They've dropped it back down to $18. I don't know how long.
For a limited time, maybe.
It sounds limited. Yeah,
I thought the same thing. So when a member signs on to rent their points with us, ownership of those points does not transfer to the DVC rental store. Those owners still stay in full ownership of those points, right? So we cannot transfer points from one member to your, like the renting member, to your account, or the member that's looking for the additional points to secure that stay. So what our advice, or we highly recommend to do, is use as many points as the member can to secure as many nights as possible with their own points. That's the free option, right, or the cheapest option. And then any additional nights that are needed to finish out or complete that stay can be rented by one of our renting members. This, of course, gives you 2 different confirmation numbers, right? So what we recommend is just presenting both confirmation numbers to the cast member at the front desk upon the arrival so that they can note the extended stay. And you should be able to stay in that room from start to finish, the same room. Not guaranteed, but it's definitely something that is an option. And a lot of members, I think, what is the one-time use points?
It's only
get 24.
So really, like, one-time use points is really, if you're in that bind where you say, hey, I've banked, I've borrowed, I need 3 more points. One-time use points.
Absolutely.
But if you're at that point, to Lindsay's point, if you're saying we need 2 more nights, rent the points.
Yeah, and especially if you're looking at the larger units, like the 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, grand villas, which one night's points.
Well, and you're not going to find those on cash. And that's the downside, is when you go on like just the Disney website where you're looking at Disney reservations, you don't often find the DVC rooms. And so if you're saying, I'm trying to add it on cash, you're going to have much more success renting points in that scenario.
100%. Yep.
That's a good question.
Yes, it is.
All right. So
and a good answer.
Very good, yes. So I did pull up the steak, Derek.
Oh boy.
Oak-fired filet of beef. Brown butter sauté, potatoes, braised carrots, carrot romesco, and Cabernet Viljou.
Okay.
Not sure where the barbecue
barbecue sauce.
Sounds like Sounds like a fancy name for barbecue sauce.
You sound like Ted Lasso.
Roots coming through right there. Indiana roots with Derek.
I'm like, I've been to California Girl. There's not barbecue sauce.
A little extra barbecue sauce for my French fries and my peanuts on my
Now,
on the floor.
Steakhouse 71.
Yes. That
You get
does
the Steakhouse 71 sauce, which is
Barbecue sauce.
They'll put A1 sauce on your table. Yeah. No, I'm just joking. I don't think that they do that.
It's called
Let us know in the
71
comments.
sauce.
Have you had barbecue sauce at the California Grill? I will send you a special gift if you have.
Derek's sending lots of special gifts.
You send them barbecue sauce if they have, right?
That's awesome.
All right, next question. We love going to Disney, and for our next trip, we're looking to rent DVC points. So glad I found y'all and learned about the red hot deals. This may not be covered in your next show, but how far in advance, dun dun dun, should you book rental points?
Yeah. So I'll take this one.
Of course you will.
I'll jump right on it.
You didn't have an option.
Okay, I'll take it.
All
I'll
eyes
take
are
it.
looking at you.
Yeah, I know. So I guess for me, I think the red hot deals verbiage here, I know that DVC Resale Market offers red hot deals. We on our end do confirmed reservations. So reservations that are already set, they have confirmation numbers, and those details cannot be changed. So the confirmation number is in Disney's system, and all we have to do is just transfer it to the new guest. So a little bit different. So I think we have multiple things in this one question, right?
Yeah,
so,
I would say like the advanced.
Yeah.
Like what is the planning
So if you're
needed?
looking to just book a new reservation or an original reservation that is outside of our confirmed, we have two different parts. I always say start the process at that 11-month booking window, hands down. With the DVC resorts, there is never any more availability at those resorts than there is at that 11-month booking window. And as we get closer and closer to those travel dates, the less and less availability there is.
Right.
And on the renting side, once we see that availability is gone, it's typically gone for good, unless we can get something in a confirmed reservation where you can just you find something that suits your needs and you can claim that confirmed. So there's with Disney, the days of planning within a 2-3 month time frame are kind of gone. Especially when we are looking at the DVC side. Direct a little different, but with the DVC side, right at that 11-month booking window, especially for the most desired resorts. So Epcot and Magic Kingdom resorts, they're gone real quick.
And holiday seasons.
And holiday seasons.
And
for
so
sure.
one tip too on that I always tell guests is that think about your vacation, right? So if Thanksgiving is always when you do that family vacation, then once you finish Thanksgiving, start planning for your next one. Because in December, that's when you hit your 11-month window.
Right.
Same thing, if Christmas is the time you go, then when you finish that Christmas trip, start figuring out where you want to go next. And then January is when you want to start booking that reservation.
So to go off of Marissa's point, the 11-month booking window does open on the day of your arrival. So it coincides with that date of arrival for your trip. It is a common question that we get on when does that 11-month booking window open. It does not correlate with the first day of the month, and it does not correlate with the day of checkout. So as soon as that day of check-in is open, we can book the full stay for 7 nights, I should say. We can't, if you're looking for like an 8 or more night stay, we actually will push that booking window so that it's further out, so we can get all nights
together
in the booking. If not, the member has to make a call. It's a lot of work on the member's part.
That's
because
walking,
they have to,
right?
It's walking the reservation. It's calling every day to add on all of those additional nights.
Each separate night.
Each separate night. So it's a call a day until all nights are in that confirmation number, which is a lot of work on that member's
Nobody got time for that.
Yeah. So
where
that's a
we
small
get
caveat. But
a lot of questions, and this is just, I'll add this question in there. A lot of our international guests are UK guests.
Right.
And so UK guests likes to stay for like 2 weeks or a fortnight, right? So your recommendation for that would be wait until what, the 7 day, like 11 months plus 7 days. And then they can book it all in one time.
Now, just to set realistic expectations, especially given the time of year, if you're looking to travel, if you're looking for a standard view, let's say a standard view Boardwalk Deluxe Studio, more than likely it's going to be gone before the booking window opens for all 14 nights, right? So for budgeting purposes, we would recommend looking at that garden or pool view. That way it's up front, you know what you're getting into, and those views stick around the longest, and so we could be able to have more success in getting that secured.
That's so funny you bring that up, because that's a question that people ask all the time, which is,
I'm sure.
what are the hardest rooms to get?
Yeah.
And we're always honest and tell people,
Yes. Yeah.
seriously, it's the ones with the worst views.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
For
they're
sure.
the least amount of
Or
points.
like the standard view at Animal Kingdom. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
try.
Bay Lake,
Yeah.
Grand Floridian, all of them that offer standard views
Yep.
are
Yes.
very difficult to secure with rented points.
Yeah.
I'm in the research phase and wondering how to pick my use year based on when we typically come down to Walt Disney World. For example, we like to come late May, early June. So what's the best use year, Derek?
So I would say always think of use year. People get very confused and think, does it mean June that I have to travel in June, or I can't book until June, or anything else? I go, honestly, use year really doesn't have anything to do with booking. So a good rule of thumb is if you do vacation, like this great question here, we normally go every June. That's it. We go every June because my wife's a teacher or whatnot. Then honestly, pick a use year with that month. So pick June or a couple of months maybe leading up to it, right?
Yep.
So if I'm going to pick a June, okay, great. I could pick an April, or maybe I'll pick a March. And the only reason we say that, because use year, at least to me and for everybody that I've talked to over all these years, use year really only matters if you cancel, within that 31-day time frame. Then the points go into holding, and it's just...
Here's a perfect example, right? You have an October use year. So Derek has an October use year. His wife's birthday is in September. Derek struggles for Annie's birthday because he hasn't hit that window where he can borrow ahead, and he's used up his current year's points. So if their family vacation was always in September, October, the next month, would be the worst use year because it would be hard to get excess points. If you go before or that month of your vacation, that means you've got your current years, plus you can borrow ahead for your future year's points. And if you have to cancel, once you've borrowed points, they cannot be unborrowed.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's say you had to cancel March use year points, and this is 2024. You have up until March 1st of 2025 to use them. So lots of time to figure that out, whether you're taking another vacation or renting the points out. You don't put yourself in a pickle. So great question. Plus, one more thing, and I know you said this, but like to really hone in on it, you don't need points in your account at time of booking.
Yes.
And a lot of people confuse that. They think that the points need to be sitting there so that they can book that reservation.
I think it's like Monopoly.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to
pass go.
No.
Now your reservation has to pass go, right? So if you're staying, you need points at time of stay or being able to borrow points at time of stay, but you do not need them at time of booking. And that's where kind of I think the most confusion around use year is.
And but if you do travel, say throughout the year, then use year probably doesn't matter, because some folks say sometimes we go in June, sometimes we like to go in October, sometimes we'll do spring break.
Then don't
it
stress.
doesn't matter.
You'll figure
Don't
it
stress.
out.
Yeah.
Don't go into the use year weeds, I like to say. It can be scary.
So this is a question, I think we can do like a two-part on this. So it says, is there a different procedure for Canadians? So one thing I want to clarify on that, if you are international, and Canadians apply as an international guest, if you're international and you're purchasing on the DVC resale market, nothing changes. If you're international and you're renting points through the DVC rental store, nothing changes. Where it is going to matter is if you are an international guest looking to sell your contract or an international DVC member looking to rent out your points.
You got it.
So, Lindsay, can you jump into what is the process? I'm an international guest. I have points I want to rent out. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll preface it with I am really on the guest side with the DVC rental store.
Okay.
Our Mrs. team, or what we call our member relations management team, is phenomenal. It's led by Paul Krieger, and they would be able to offer really sound advice on how to proceed with all of this. But the biggest difference that members that are here in the U.S. as opposed to international members deal with is we do require international members to have an ITIN number, which basically is because for tax
it replaces
purposes.
a social security
It does.
number. So
And
it's that tax number.
That's exactly right.
Because when you do make a transaction, this is considered real estate,
It
right?
is.
So when you're renting your points, you're renting your real estate property.
Yep.
When you're selling your points, you're selling a real estate property.
Yes.
So in the US, there are tax implications. And no matter where you're from, you're still required to pay those US tax implications,
Yes.
which is why you're required this number, whether you're renting or selling.
Yeah, right, correct. So once that's set up, though,
Yeah.
and you're in our system, you're good to go to rent those points as a member if you're wanting to rent out the points. But there is a small little step that, or maybe large, depending on how difficult it is in your area to get that number. But we do require that in order to or in order for international members to rent their points.
And one thing I would say is reach out to us, right?
Absolutely.
So you can email, whether you email DVC Rental Store, if you want to email DVC Resale Market. We actually work with companies that help secure an ITIN number. So I would say if you're an international member, just get it, right?
Yeah.
Have it ready. So that way, if you get in a bind where you say, I need to rent out my points, you're good to go. It's a small process. It doesn't cost that much. I think it's a couple $100, but to have it done, then you have it done.
You're
because
covered.
if you ever need to rent, and then the same thing goes on the selling side. If you ever have to sell your contract, you do need that ITIN number.
Yes.
And now the selling side gets a little bit more in depth on that, and we do have a process, and I'll have you talk a little bit more on that. But when it comes to just being an international guest or member, I would say as a member, just get it so you have it. So once you, as an international member, have the ITIN number, then you can do the next steps. So whether you're renting out your points, but then if you are looking to sell, one thing that international members do have to take into consideration is the FERPTA tax. So FERPTA tax is something required by the IRS, the U.S. government, and they require that 15% of your profit gets withheld. Now, with that said, most members aren't making an extreme profit, so you can actually work this back. It's technically, and I am not an official agent on this. I'm just going to give you some inside scoops. We do have an agency that we can give you connections with that will walk you through. They're certified in that. But most of the time, most of our sellers are able to recoup that 15%. So they do the FERPTA withholding, they file after the fact. And the good news is, it seems kind of like daunting, but the good news is we have a process set for that. We help international guests all the time sell their contracts. So if you are looking to do that, reach out to our team. They're experts in that. They'll get you set up with the next steps. But it isn't a scary process. They're just some extra steps.
Yes, and we tell people all the time, guys, we have people from just about every country in the whole entire world reach out to us to not only buy Disney Vacation Club, but also to sell it. And I mean that when I say just about every country in the world. And the team that we have, our FERPTA team and the company that we work with, are just fantastic. They do hundreds, if not more, contracts with us each and every year. Our sellers have had tremendous success. And again, we can't go all in on this here during the show. So again, that's when you want to reach out to us at the DVC Resale Market with any specific questions you guys have if you are an international seller.
All right. Next question. Your thoughts on buying a resale with a 2042 end?
I'll happily take this one.
Go for it.
Because I'm a big believer in this. That I've said
your
this.
Your contract ends in 2042.
All the cool kids have contracts that end in 2042.
And October use.
And October use. No, I tell people all the time where they reach out to us and say, Derek, we love the beach club, we love the boardwalk, but what we're struggling with is, I don't know, that whole 2042 end date. I just, you know what, there's other contracts out there that end in, 2060 or 2066. And I always say, simple, guys, people see value in different ways. Some people look when they buy Disney Vacation Club, they go, what's the lowest price per point? Right. That's it. Yeah. Other people might go, hey, what's got the best dues? I just want a property with the cheapest dues. Other people might say, who's got the most years left? Because that's the one that I want to buy for my great grandkids and whatnot. But those people that love those 2042 resorts, they see the value in, like you said, Lindsay, that 11-month booking window. Yeah. They see the value in knowing that they're not going to be sad for the next however many years at 7 months out and say, well, I booked my resort at Saratoga. I'm going to go online at 7 months out and Boardwalk is all booked. Yeah. They see the value in just knowing that, hey, I want the next, 15 plus years of vacations. I want to stay exactly where I want to stay. So again, that's up to you, just wherever you see the value. But I can't stress enough, and members will tell you if you're not already a member, it's real common to get sad at 7 months out if you're not a Boardwalk owner or you're not a beach club owner. So if you love those resorts, then you got to look long and hard and say, do I see the value, for the next X amount of years? That's what I want to do. I want to be happy, not sad.
Well, and I think there's also kind of like the logical side of it too. And I always say this. We do the economics blog once a quarter, and you can see how much it costs to own a point at each resort. So let's say, for example, you take Boardwalk, divide it by the 15 years left, or however many years left, 18, 17. You divide it by the years left. So your purchase price divided by the years left, add in the dues. That's what you're paying each time you use a point, right? And so when you take that and say Derek's stay was 14 points, and I'm just going to use a round number. And let's say you own it and it costs you $10 per point to own, you're getting that room for $140. So when you look at that, and then you look at Disney's direct pricing, if you can find Disney's direct pricing for less than that, then it doesn't make sense to own at 2042. But if you're doing those numbers and Disney's direct pricing is going to be significantly higher, then it makes total sense to ride out those last few years of 2042 contracts. And on the flip side, where like Vero Beach, for example, you may not see a significant savings, but I will caution you this. Good luck booking Vero Beach on cash. Yes. Because it doesn't, like, you cannot find it.
No.
Correct.
You want to go to Vero Beach, and especially if you want to get prime season, specific rooms, you might save slightly less than Disney's direct, but it's worth it for the peace of mind of knowing you can book that stay if you're going to be booking it regardless.
That's it.
A follow-up question on that, and I'm going to jump around here, but there was another question that said, if you purchase a contract that has less than 15 years, that's where I got 15 in my head, will you be able to extend the contract?
Yeah, great question. I don't even think that Disney knows the answer to that on what they're going to do. Many folks out there remember years and years and years ago, I want to say back in like 2009, 2010, they offered the old Key West owners an extension because we were direct guides there at the time. And they offered them and said, hey, do you want to take your old Key West contract? Y'all are the first people to buy. It's set to end in 2042. We'll give you 15 more years. So now you can have this till 2057. And we're going to charge you, I think at the time, right off the bat, it was like $10 a point.
Yeah.
Right. So some people looked at that and said, wow, I have 200 points. So for $2,000, I get an additional 15 years. However, most folks said, no, are you kidding me? I'm not going to give you, say, even thousands of dollars for something now when this doesn't even kick in, say, for 30 some years from now. So in short, it was kind of a disaster, right?
Well, and on the flip side, Disney could sell those extensions now for like $50 a point, right? So it was kind of a lose-lose.
It was a lose-lose. And then if you didn't want to do it, you had to then sign a form and send it back saying that Disney asked you to do it. And so we were vacation guides and our contract teams were chasing members all around the country saying, I know you said no, but we need you to sign this piece of paper. I don't think Disney wants to think about it right now.
Yeah,
probably not.
They're trying to make it through 2023.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to open up Moana right now. That's what they're worried about. They're not worried about 2042. So it's always best to just have that mentality of just saying, you know what, when it ends, it ends.
And I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people put that emphasis on what if. Just, you can't think of it that way. If it happens, right? But be happy with whatever purchase you're going to make. Don't purchase on the hope that there will be an extension. We went into this a little bit already on U-Shear, but there's a part of this question that we didn't go into, and it's please explain U-Shear and its expiration. So it's expiration. I'll jump in on that really quickly, but basically each set of points gets a 2-year life. So if you have an October U-Shear like Derek and his points come in 2024, he has from 2024 to use them and then a year to bank them. So those 2024 points are good until October 1st, if he banks them, of 2026. The max amount of points you can use, and this actually, there's a banking and borrowing question here. So max amount of points you can use in any given vacation is 3 years worth. So if Derek didn't use his 2023 points,
he'll never have that issue.
You're my guinea pig for this whole thing. He could have banked his October 2023 points. Now, once you bank them, they get stuck into that next U-Shear. So let's say, for example, Derek went ahead in October 2023 and banked his. Sorry, I'm in the wrong year. His 20-year. You still have 2023 coming.
No. I'm out.
Oh, you've already borrowed ahead. Yeah. Never mind.
Well, yeah.
He's in the red.
Point poor Derek.
You're waiting to borrow 2025.
Yeah.
I just like how she's making this whole thing sound, it literally sounds like a children's book. Derek owns the Boardwalk. He has an October U-Shear. He's sad.
He has no points left.
No points.
But he could have banked his year behind points, right? Used his current year points and then borrow from the future. So 3 years worth on any given vacation. But once you bank, they're stuck in the bank. So you have to wait till that next U-Shear or make sure you book something from October to October. You couldn't book something. He couldn't have done Annie's birthday because he'd already banked those points. You can't borrow from banked points. So thank you.
Got all that?
Yeah. Sure be a lot easier if I actually had points.
In Derek's scenario, he has no points left to use.
Derek's sad.
Circle the emotion that Derek feels.
Yeah.
Happy, sad, frustrated, or happy he has his friend Kerri.
All right. If you have 2 different U-Shears and need both sets of points to fulfill a reservation, do you have to call member services to make the reservation?
Yes, you have to call.
Yes.
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 You
And
have to
we'll
call.
have 2 confirmation numbers, right? Because we do get members that
Yeah.
do this often when they claim larger point requests on our end. So, and then you link those or the confirmation numbers together, and the guest should be fine for the entire stay.
So there's 2, like when you are a DVC member and you buy a new U-Shear, it's kind of like, picture this like a house, right? If I have my home and I want to do an addition on my home, that's like buying the same U-Shear. It's still the same address, right? But if I want to buy the house next door, I have a new address. So when you buy a new U-Shear, you have 2 different members accounts. So when you go to log in, you'll see membership number 1, membership number 2, they live separately. Disney's online setup isn't set up for you to interchange points through membership.
Right.
So the only way you can use points together is to call. Now, if you wanted to book 2 totally separate reservations, you could go to membership number 1, book it online. You could go to membership number 2, book it online. And then you could call member services if you wanted to merge those for like a stay, if you're buying tickets or doing dining plan. But if you want to be able to do the reservation all at one time, the best way to do this is to call member services. You can transfer points once per U-Shear. So for Derek, it would be October to October. He can call and say, I want to transfer points from this account to the other. That would be his one transfer. And then he can go online and book that all together, because Disney will create what they call a virtual contract. So he'll have his normal contract and then the virtual contract, and they'll be all together. But if his other U-Shear is September, it still falls under the U-Shear rules. So the transferring of points doesn't then all of a sudden make those points October U-Shear. So it is a little bit tricky. Where we find guests have the most success of having 2 different U-Shears or having 2 different membership accounts is if they have points for specific use. So we have guests who buy add-on contracts just for Food and Wine Festival. They want to stay at the Boardwalk for 3 nights. They don't want to ever merge them together. The other one that we see it all the time with is Grand Cal. If you're buying Grand Cal, you're buying Grand Cal, right? You don't care to merge those points or use them ever at Animal Kingdom or Saratoga Springs.
I was just going to say, it should be illegal to use Grand Cal points at like Saratoga Springs at 7 months out. No way.
Yeah.
So again, this is high level, and not to get too much in the weeds, but if you have questions, that's what our team is here for. We're experts in this field, and so some of these might be more specific to you and your family, so reach out and we'll be able to help you with that.
If I could just add on that, if we have any members that are thinking of renting points and fall in this scenario, we just ask that if you are renting through us to book a guest reservation, please contact us before you just assume that it is okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guests get a little confused, or I mean, if they get 2 confirmation numbers for their first day, they don't understand the ins and outs as well as the members do. And so for us, it's a lot of explaining. So we just ask, if that is what you're planning on doing, let us know so we can reach out to the guest, make sure they're okay with that as a courtesy, and then let them kind of lead on if they are okay with moving forward with the 2 confirmation numbers or if not.
Right. That's a great point.
Great point.
All right, this is a sales question, so this is just a random. I would like to know, what is the largest point contract you have sold?
Oh, boy.
Derek, I'll start with you.
There's been a few. I've definitely sold a 2,000 point contract before. I think I was on the ship. I think it was on a Disney fantasy ship over New Year's. I think it was like a New Year's cruise, which is, if you ever price those cruises out, they're a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I think it was a 2,000 point package. You'd be surprised that we laugh, because sometimes we'll sell at the DVC Resale Market a 500 point contract, an 1,000 point contract will sell sometimes faster than say 125 point contract or something, because the right people are out there for those contracts, and they don't care. They're just, this is what I want. This is what I need. I've researched this. I've spent, a famous story was one time I had a friend of mine who was a vacation club guide at the Polynesian, and he was meeting people, of course, to talk about Disney Vacation Club. He had a guest come in at the end of staying, renting a bungalow for 10 nights.
Oh.
So he paid cash 10 nights for the bungalow.
Wow.
My friend, the vacation club guide, broke everything out. Literally, he had purchased, I can't remember how many points it was. It was an obscene amount because he looked and said, so wait a second. So I literally just have to do the same trip that I just did like 4 or 5 more times, and this thing pays for itself. But I get the vacation points. So I can come in a bungalow every year, and instead of spending, XXX, I'm just paying the dues because I broke even on it. So yeah, it's funny. When you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
So whether you spend the night in a bungalow or whether you're at home saying, we love the moderate resorts, we love Port Orleans or whatnot, it all comes down to well,
it's funny
doing something with your money.
So when I was a DVC guide at DVC, my highest point contract was 1,000 points, and it was a family that decided to pool everything together. So it was like the grandparents and then their kids, older kids, with their kids. And so as we were doing the presentation and talking through everything, it just made sense for them. Instead of to do all these different contracts, they were like, we can do more and they loved Saratoga Springs. They loved the Grand Villa, and that was their dream, was to do Thanksgiving in the Grand Villa. And so they pooled everything together and then did a 1,000-point contract.
Yeah.
And
we
mine
have
was,
just as
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have just as many guests that look for large requests, 800, 900, over 1,000 points for a stay. So don't shy away from thinking, I'm never going to use these points, or that nobody would ever want to use our points, because we have just as many guests that are looking for a 1-night stay at Old Key West for 10 points as we do that are looking for the week-long or 10-night stay.
Well, we were looking for trying to figure out that bungalow stay. And that was like 680 points, I think. That gets more challenging because members who usually buy that larger points are using them. They're not turning around and renting them. So we were like, in my head, I'm like, this is great. We've got so many like points that are going to be rented. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. It's going to be hard to find that many points. The largest contract I've sold is 1,700 points. It was for Alani, and this family would go for long periods of time. And like, those are the ones where, it just makes sense. When you price out Alani,
for sure.
Certainly, no-brainer.
Yep.
All right. Question regarding inheritance. If your direct points are less than 150 points, or whatever it may be at the time to pass your membership, will your beneficiaries still be considered a direct member?
So, yes.
So you're grandfathered in on whatever you purchase your points at, right? So there was a time where to be a direct member, you only had to own 25 points. Those guests are grandfathered in. So if they pass that down as a gratuitous transfer, not as a sale, right? So if you go to sell it, it doesn't transfer to the buyer. But if it's a gratuitous transfer to a family member, then those restrictions, or whatever restrictions you don't have, or benefits, those will remain with. So if you bought a resale contract before resale restrictions, you can pass that down and keep that. Same thing if you had only 50 points, or now the new level is 150. If you pass that down, those will stay with them.
Yes.
Another thing too is we get a lot of family members who look to buy contracts. So now we're seeing that next generation, right? Because a lot of like parents or grandparents have owned DVC. Now we're seeing the kids and grandkids want to own their own membership. And obviously they look and they go, resale's way cheaper than direct, but we want the benefits or the perks. So some people say it's not worth it, right? When you look at but others say, I just want the perks. And especially these kids who've grown up in it, they find certain things that they don't want to give up. So one quick thing on that, and you can reach out to our title team at Magic Vacation Title.
Good point.
You can get added to your parents' membership. So let's say you weren't an adult at the time, but now you're 18 or over. They can add you to their membership, and you can get all those direct benefits. You can get the member card, all of that. And then you can start your own contract and save on the resale side. So your parents did you a favor by doing it that way. So take advantage. That's the best way to do it, to save money on that side.
That's a great point, because people do ask and say, so let's say I have two contracts, and one is a direct contract and one is a resale contract. What if I'm staying on property just using my resale points, but I do have a little member card from my direct contract? That's fine. Once you have a member card, it doesn't matter what points you're staying on. You're still going to be able to get those little perks, those little discounts. So it makes no difference if you're staying using your direct points or your resale points. But that's a great point.
All right, so this is a great question. It's, what is the best way to maximize a 75-point contract between Vero Beach and Orlando DVC resorts?
Well, I guess my question would be, are you buying a 75-point contract at Vero Beach, or are you buying a contract at Walt Disney World?
I think they're just saying, if these are the two places I want to go, and I have 75 points, what's the best way to maximize it?
Yeah. So obviously, when you look at the point charts, like when it comes to Vero Beach, I think the best bang for the buck in the time I go every single is December. So right before Christmas, you can get a room in the inn, which are fantastic, for literally anywhere between, I think it's like 12 and 14 points per night. So you're right there at Vero Beach. So if I've got a 75-point contract, you say, okay, so this year we're going to go to Vero for 3 or 4 nights, or maybe we want to do it all in that exact same time frame. So December is a very popular time for Disney Vacation Club members, because A, all the decorations are up, and B, the points are low. So if you've got that 75-point contract, I think it's critical that you do book at least a Walt Disney World resort. So if you wanted to do kind of a half at Walt Disney World and then head over to Vero for 2 nights, you should easily probably be able to do that on a 75-point contract. But if you want to go in December when the points are low, I would definitely look at booking in that, January timeframe for sure.
Yeah, I would avoid like spring break and summer because that's where your points are going to go longer. But even like September, right? I think there's a lot of fear of like hurricane season and all that. But for the most part, September's like one of our warmest months. And so if you want to go and enjoy like a beautiful beach time, and also like we talked about, a really slow kind of calm time at Disney World, that would be my recommendation as well, those slower time frames. And you can get away with so much with 75 points.
And base reservation's more on point value than where your like dream vacation is.
Yep.
So if you're looking to stay at the Grand, probably not looking for a 75-point contract. But if you're looking at Old Key West where you can get 10-point nights, that's maximizing the most out of it.
Yep.
And again, bank
4
them.
nights there,
Yeah.
you've 40 points.
Exactly.
You still have 35 left.
Every other year for 150 points,
Yeah,
you
then
can
your
do
big
a
trip.
great
Yeah.
vacation.
Yep,
Great
for sure.
vacation.
Or that's your spring break time, right? If you're set on spring break or summer, then it's an every other year type of thing. Okay, so last question. And one thing I will say, we got a lot of questions on swaps. Yeah. So when you go to DVC Rental Store and go to our swap page, all of those swaps, especially for cruises, that's based on double occupancy. So when we do the point range there, but because cruises are so unique and it depends on like the exact type of stateroom or view or family number, really reach out to Ellie at DVC Rental Store. That's ELLIE at DVC Rental Store. She's an expert. She can really hold your hand and walk you through all of those examples. Even if you're not planning to book and you just want to kind of figure out your points, reach out to her. She'll take care of that. But last but not least, I thought this was going to be a really fun question to end it off. The question is, how many points does the average DVC customer have? So answer this honestly on what you would think initially.
What I would think initially?
Yeah.
So I remember being a guide at Walt Disney World, and I think that average was whatever the minimum was that you could buy at the time.
Yep.
Right? So if it was the 150 points you had to buy, people would buy 150. I remember when I bought 20 some years ago, we sat there in the room and we're like, well, the minimum's 150. Well, I don't want to seem cheap, so I'm going to buy 170. And you can see how well that's worked out for us. I would say because resale prices are so much cheaper than direct, I would say maybe 200, 250 would be the range. Like, whereas I think a direct, because their prices are over, $200 a point, might be in that 150 range. Right. I would say 200 something.
And we had talked about this a little bit, and you were like, well, if we look at like the average contracts we sell, it's about 200 points per contract, which is very true. And if you go to our website, the core, if you like filter between 100 points and 250 points, that's primarily all of our listings. So most contracts are that size. And I would have said the same thing. However, we asked you, our audience, we put this on Instagram and Facebook, and we had like almost 100 responses to this. I was floored.
I know where you're going to go.
I was floored because just because the average contract doesn't mean that there aren't people buying multiple contracts. And that's where y'all got us because when I went through all of these answers, now some people, we're going to go on vacation together because they had like 3,000 to 4,000 points. And that wasn't like uncommon.
You need to be friends with these people. I do too.
But the average was about 500 to 700 points. The average responses. Now that might not be the world average. You all might be bougie members.
Those who participated.
Those who participated.
The bougie members who participated.
But I think that just, again, speaks to once you own... I think a lot of people buy what they need at the time. And I think the biggest thing that we've learned with Disney Vacation Club is your vacation patterns change for the better, right? Sure. You start to use it more, you love it more, you do more things with it. So
well, and there's new resorts that are added all the time, right? So, and I started almost 11 years ago in this business. Like the Grand wasn't around, the Poly wasn't around, Riviera wasn't around. So
you've seen it grow too.
I've seen it grow. And so as more resorts come on and you need more points.
Right.
Especially for those people, because the most dangerous thing you do, and people do it all the time, is we're buying X amount of points to start with because we're just going to stay in a studio.
And then you stay the one bedroom.
Then you get upgraded. One bedroom at the Boardwalk.
And
once you go one bedroom, it's over.
Yeah.
And you'll be in the 500-600 point club.
Right.
Welcome to the club. This was super fun. Thank you everybody who participated. This was an awesome episode. I feel like we packed in a lot. So if you have more questions, email us info@worldofdvc.com. Whatever question that is, we'll pass it to the right team to make sure those get answered. And of course, if you want the chance to win a bucket hat, make sure you're leaving us something in the comments that you do that's Disney and fall or Disney and Halloween. And of course, email us. And if you have pictures, that might be bonus
points. We love to see the pictures, definitely.
And we will be sending those out to 5 lucky winners.
Yes. Love the bucket hats.
Lindsay, we're so glad.
Thanks for joining.
It was awesome to be back.
We have to comment on her jacket too. She texted me. She's like, is this appropriate to
much?
wear? Is
Oh
it
my
too
God,
much?
it's so
I said, of
cute.
course it's not. It's perfect.
Yeah, the back is even
the back
more decorated.
Oh,
my
man.
God.
My kids get embarrassed with me when I wear this kind of stuff, but I am a Disney mom through and through.
is.
So
People are
what
like,
it is.
people are like, forget that bucket hat. Can I get Lindsay's jacket?
Right? That is not a prize right now. Oh, Jeff's gonna.
geez.
Okay.
And there we have it.
Hit Marissa in the head. But Derek's gonna model it. Yes, if you want yourself a
That's why I
bucket
didn't do
hat.
sports growing up.
There we go.
Love it.
All right,
Yes.
thank you guys. And
Thank you.
again,
Thank you.
let us
Yes.
know if we didn't answer your question. We tried to fit in as much as possible, but it's not the first time we're going to do it.
No.
So we're going to do it again.
Long-standing
Love it.
tradition.
So
Yes.
this was great. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
And thank you at home for watching. We would not be able to do this if it wasn't for each and every one of you watching. We have the absolute best audience in the whole entire world. So remember, let us know if you want to try to get this hat. Shoot us an email. Thank you so much for watching. So with that, there's only one last thing to do. The long-standing tradition. The last time we will do this in 90-degree Florida heat, right? Because it's going to be much.
According to Annie.
That's what Annie says. I don't believe it. I'll believe
see
it
you
when I
next
feel
month.
it.
She's 50. So yeah.
She's 50. She doesn't know anything.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and
We'll see you real soon.
Oh boy, that's my mug.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Please remove your headphones, step back into reality, have a magical day, and we'll see you real soon.